So guys, today's video I'm going to be talking about some of the things you should know before you apply to graduate school. Alright, yes, graduate school, here I mean master's or PhD. So there are certain things you need to know as an international student in case if you must apply to a graduate school or for a master's or a PhD program in any university. Alright, precisely in Canadian universities I'm talking about. So first, the very first thing is the course requirements. All right, you need to check the course requirement. But before I elaborate on the course requirement, please, if you are new to this YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe. All right, consider subscribing so that we can grow the platform. Thank you so much. For those who are sharing my videos, thank you so much, and for those who are watching as well. Now, like I said, you need to check course requirements if you are thinking of making an application to any graduate school. 2 days ago, I got a subscriber. He came asking me some questions about Luxembourg, which I told him he should contact the Belgian embassy. Then he came back after 1 minute and told me to forward the links of the Belgian embassy to him. I just told him direct, brother, I have given you the information you need. Alright, so now it's left for you to verify. I cannot tell you a place to go where you came to me asking for it. I told you where to go to and you are asking me for the links and you have an Android phone. It sounds very funny. So, like I said, if you have a phone, always normalize using it very well. Don't waste more time on TikTok and other social media handles. Alright, Google is very good and open to everyone. So now let's go back to the topic for today. If you must apply to a graduate school, you should be able to verify which requirements are your course needing, all right, or is the course you want to apply to, which the requirements do the course need. Now, it is very important to check requirements before you apply to a program or to a graduate school because not all universities have the same requirements, all right. Some will ask you to submit a first class upper in a particular program. Some will ask you to submit a second class lower in a particular program, while others will ask you other requirements. So it is always good for you to verify requirements before you apply to any graduate school. Now, I also want to draw your attention to the fact that plagiarism will get you banned. All right, if you go to the internet in case they are asking for something and you just go online, copy and you paste it, they are going to catch you. All right, plagiarism is a very big crime, and if you plagiarize stuff as a graduate student, it is not normal, it is abnormal. All right, therefore you are going to suffer the effect because you may be penalized for that in case you are caught, and it's very normal. Remember, you may say, how am I going to be caught? There are websites or there are tools that most of these teachers or universities use. All right, I know some of those tools, so you have to be careful. If you go online, you yourself, you are going to find some of the tools as well. Now, when you are applying for a graduate school, make sure you apply for something related. Do not do mathematics for your bachelor's degree, and when you are applying for master's, you go and start applying for philosophy. No. If you do physics in high school, do physics for your bachelor's, make sure you apply for something, maybe apply physics or normal physics again for your master's degree level. All right. I know there are a lot of you who did interrelated courses, all right, like something in English literature, maybe English language. In this case, you can apply for something which is related to psychology or sociology or English language as well, all right, for your master's or PhD. It is somehow related. So always check requirements and check things that are related to your past education before you apply, all right. Now, let me talk about the language requirements. Language requirements is very important when you want to apply for graduate school. Now, most of these graduate schools are found in Canada, and when you want to apply for a graduate school, they will always tell you that these are the requirements. There are general requirements and there are departmental requirements. So checking all requirements is going to boost your success in the application you are trying to make, okay? Because like I said, if you fail to check requirements before you apply to graduate school, that is where you will be dumped, your admissions will be dumped, your application will not be considered because, first of all, requirements is what you need to know. If you can't check requirements, it means you can't do research, okay? So know that and know it very important. And now, When I talk of language requirements, I mean the IELTS, the TOEFL, the SAT, the GRE, the GMAT. First of all, if you want to apply to graduate school, make sure you verify the language requirements. Most graduate schools will ask you for, let me say, the IELTS exam, all right, the International English Language Testing System. Some other graduate schools will ask you for the TOEFL, which is the test of English as a foreign language, while others will ask you for SAT exam, and of course, there are some other schools that will ask you for the graduate records examination, which is the GRE, and of course the GMAT. Now, let me say most schools in Europe will always ask you to provide the IELTS exam or the TOEFL, while some other school states in Europe will ask you to provide GRE or GMAT. But those schools that usually provide will ask for GMAT or GRE are somehow economics related, or those programs are somehow related to economics and finance. If you are applying for, let's say, something which is, let me say, most American schools as well, and Canadian schools will always ask for GRE, GMAT, and SAT results, all right? But that doesn't mean that there are no schools in Canada that will ask you for IELTS, okay? I'm just trying to quote examples here. So make sure you pay attention to this, and when you see the requirements about the examinations like this, like the IELTS or the TOEFL, now if you have a doubt, ask the university, all right? In case they tell you that they just want people to be aware that they are going to submit this, then you can decide to know if you are going to write the exam or if you would take the exam or not, all right? It is very important to know, because if the university says provide us with a band score 6 for IELTS and you did not write the exam, know that you are going to lose the admission, all right? You will not be able to get the admissions because they already told you that look for the certificates and present to us. So these are some of the things you should know. Again, when applying for economics, accounting, and finance programs, especially in German and Canadian universities, try to look at the requirements like I mentioned before, because most of the requirements will be pasted on the website, all right, the program website. Then again, another thing you should pay close attention to is reference. Sometimes graduate schools will ask you for reference letters, and most Canadian schools will always ask for 2 reference letters. So it is now left for you or to you to check the program you want to apply for in Canada to know if it actually has something to do with GRE or GMAT, because like I said, most schools in Canada will always ask for GRE or GMAT. All right, so that is what you should know. And again, when it comes to the references, okay, the references, I was talking about the GMAT stuff. When it comes to the references, all right, I want to elaborate again about, make sure you contact the person providing the references as early as possible to you. Okay, it's very, very important. The person providing the reference letters should do it as fast as possible. Remember, they also have their own things they are doing. So if you must consult someone to write a reference letter for you, make sure you speak to them as fast as possible. And when you go to uni, try to pay close attention to your lecturers, because you will need them someday to write references for you. I hope you get the point. Now, the next thing you need to know about graduate school is the issue of the motivation letter. Motivation letter is the statement of purpose. Why are you applying to this school? Some schools will ask you that, some will not ask you. Most schools in Poland don't ask for motivation letter, but schools in some other countries, maybe like Germany, Norway, and USA, will always ask for motivation letters, all right? So that is what you should understand. There are 3 things I want to mention again, and I think the issue of supervisor, the issue of proposal, and of course the application fee. Let me start with the issue of the supervisor. When you want to apply for graduate school, especially schools in Canada, all right, I think the University of Manitoba has this system. You should try to contact a supervisor, especially if you are applying again for PhD, because most schools around the world, some will ask you to contact PhD to arrange how you are going to do the application, because most schools usually work with lecturers, all right? And when you are about to fill the application, you have to contact them first of all. Then if the lecturer accepts that he or she is going to do or let me say going to supervise your work at the end of the research, then it is fine, okay? But if the lecturer doesn't, let me say some lecturers will not really have the time, others will tell you that they are busy, while others will tell you to apply, all right? Then they will carry on from there. So it is very necessary for you to check all this information from the, let me say, the funding opportunities or funding pages of those universities, okay? Then the other thing you need to understand is that the application fee. But first, before the application fee, know that not all the countries will ask you to find supervisors. Like schools in the US, I think most of them don't need supervisors, but there are other countries that you will need a supervisor to supervise your work, all right? There are three things I want to mention again, and I think the issue of supervisor, the issue of proposal, and of course the application fee. Let me start with the issue of the supervisor. When you want to apply for graduate school, especially schools in Canada, all right, I think the University of Manitoba has this system. You should try to contact a supervisor, especially if you are applying again for PhD, because most schools around the world, some will ask you to contact PhD to arrange how you are going to do the application, because most schools usually work with lecturers, all right? And when you are about to fill the application, you have to contact them first of all. Then if the lecturer accepts that he or she is going to do, or let me say going to supervise your work at the end of the research, then it is fine, okay? But if the lecturer doesn't, let me say some lecturers will not really have the time, others will tell you that they are busy, while others will tell you to apply, all right? Then they will carry on from there. So it is very necessary for you to check all this information from the, let me say, the funding opportunities or funding pages of those universities, okay? Then the other thing you need to understand is that the application fee. But first, before the application fee, know that not all the countries will ask you to find supervisors. Like schools in the US, I think most of them don't need supervisors, but there are other countries that you will need a supervisor to supervise your work, all right?